Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I've been sitting here this morning researching baseball prospect camps to take my 17-year-old to. He took a month off. If you don't remember, he's a left-handed pitcher. He took a month off. He hit 86 miles an hour, and then he took a month off. He had been pitching all year, and he had not a major injury, just like a temporary shoulder impingement. It's like a nerve bothering him kind of thing. But now he's 100% again after taking a rest. And now this fall is the fall when we really go, and we'll start going to camps and all that. And wouldn't be surprised if he's not committed somewhere by the end of fall to play college baseball, which was the goal all along. Division I college baseball. Even if he has to take I suspect he'll be able to make it, but even if he has to take a D2 or through Division II or a different route, he'll get there because this kid doesn't quit. He's like his daddy. All right, XRP, the rise of the new demand zone. eGrag Crypto on July 20th, I proclaimed the emergence of the XRP new demand zone. What was once a forecast has become reality. See the accompanying chart that validates my perspective. I've always believed that XRP has the power to amaze. I like all these thumbnails you've given me in here. It's been following global liquidity, a fact that's hard to dispute, but my belief goes deeper. I see a future where XRP leads, not follows, becoming the embodiment of liquidity itself. Timing is uncertain, but I'm grateful to accumulate XRP under $1. Its value transcends price. Recall, XRP was the first with legal clarity among digital assets. Remember, Gemini at $50, a glimpse into the liquidity dance, the $50 liquidity dance. I love that. That will be the thumbnail for today. Let me write it down. Got to get that written down or I'll forget. My memory's not what it used to be. $50 liquidity dance. Thank you, eGrag Crypto, for my thumbnail. I love it. That's a good one. Then he goes on, change is near, patience required. This journey is exponential. If you can't see it, then educate yourself about XRP. Stay steady and keep on embracing the XRP adventure. I love the adventure. Now, speaking of the adventure, check out what the cool guy, the official cool guy, the Digital Asset Investor channel has to say.
Yeah, how'd you get this car, man?
That's an easy play. XRP, the only digital asset that's not a security as a matter of law.
Man, he looks a little mafioso going through there. Look at that. But you know what? The cool guy's right, folks. Look, right now, you can't do that video really, or you can for a good laugh like he did. But I believe that there will be a day when people will be able to do that video and it will really mean something, because for me, this has never been, who knows when this goes off, but I've never doubted what we're a part of here. That's the thing for me. I don't spend a lot of time doing anything other. Occasionally I'll buy, at this point, I'm not buying a lot, but I'll buy, like if the market gets down, I'll buy more, but not necessarily XRP. It might be something else, but I know that XRP is the one for me. I mean, I feel like that's ultimately what's going to be the thing, and I think he's on to something here. Now, check this out. Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy, Robert Kiyosaki.
Now, the reason that's important is they hate America. And if you can get that picture, plus you have the Belt and Road Project,
China,
you have most of the world that's not. I'm going to hope you don't get censored for me saying this, but the world that they're going into is a non-Christian world. I'm not being, religious and all this. I'm not being political. I'm saying it's, Muslim, Hindu, Islam, and all this. So this is a very big move. It's because the world, who is not white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, Christian, like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, England, they're joining up against the Western currency called the dollar. And so the BRICS is not if, it's only when. Jim Rickards says it best. It's not if, it's when they switch to gold. That's what they're saying. I agree with him.
Wow. I mean, you're an advocate of returning to a gold standard. I mean, this is something that you wanted to see here in the U.S., right?
Well, I don't like to tell people. Trump is my really good friend. We wrote 2 books together, but I'm not political. It's a dirty game, So I say to people, I'm not Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. I'm a free agent, and I say to people, get back on your own gold standard. Why wait for the government to do it for you?
Yeah.
Just get on your own gold standard. So as you know, Danielle, all of these years,
No, folks, these are the good guys, but this video is about the bad guys, okay? It's time for America and the world to get your heads out of your butts, and that's the fact, Jack, okay? These people are bad guys, okay? Gary Gensler, he's now putting off the Bitcoin ETF. I said, I guess he feels he's given he hasn't given China a big enough head start yet. Just look at what's has been done in the United States. I'm going to show you a video in a minute. Ripple was complaining about how Bitcoin and Ethereum were Chinese controlled years ago. Remember when before Jay Clayton dropped the lawsuit on Ripple, the national security people wrote Jay Clayton a letter and said, this is a national security risk. And Jay Clayton then files the lawsuit anyway. Remember all of that? And all of these guys have a China problem. All of them. This is Republican lawmakers led by House Financial Services Committee Patrick McHenry. They're sending a letter to Gary Gensler over Prometheum. Remember Prometheum? He puts out Prometheum as this like straw man that, see, people can register here in the U.S. when he knew that it's not true. Now, but the problem is that all roads lead to China. And these people that are running our country right now, I believe, are compromised by China. I believe almost half to 3/4 of our government has been compromised by China, and they're literally working on behalf of China and blackmailed and bribed and God knows what else, okay? That's what I think we're dealing with. And it's time that everybody get their heads out of their butts and start acknowledging this and make it a major, not a somewhat of an issue, but a major issue. And it ties right into crypto, and that's why I'm showing it to you. So here's the letter from Patrick McHenry to over Prometheum, and he's talking about how these guys have ties to Wang Zhang in China. And you'll remember, this is the video where I'd put out a few months ago where the Prometheum guy had gotten in front of Congress and totally downplayed their involvement with China. Well, reading between the lines here, what I think has gone on is the Chinese were behind building this company, and then I believe I can't remember if it was 2020. They it's like they created some agreement to cut their ties, but it was after China had already built the whole infrastructure for the company. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know for sure, but look at this. And this is from Patrick McHenry's letter. He says, in 2018, Prometheum and Shanghai Wang Zhang blockchain entered into an agreement to jointly develop blockchain trading software. While the agreement was later terminated, Prometheum claims all the software was independently developed. The involvement of Chinese entity in technology development in the early stages of Prometheum raises serious concerns. And I said, the question is, did they terminate the agreement to give the appearance of no more Chinese involvement? In other words, they're not involved now after the Chinese engineers had developed the entire platform. That's the question, because he says it right here. He shows you what the plan was right here in this video.
Let's look at our issuance platform.
It's the issuance. It looks like they created by design a Chinese back door with this thing.
On the issuance side, you have a potential issuer, and they basically want to offer a token compliantly under the federal securities and laws in the United States. They fill out a Reg A Plus offering, and they get it qualified by the SEC, which is not, it's weird because qualified essentially is tacit approval of the offering. When the SEC gives its tacit approval, its qualification, that token becomes free trading and available to all investors. And again, that's super important for this economy to flourish. How is Prometheum going to list companies on its ATS? Where are we going to get companies from? A ATS, meaning an exchange, an alternative trading system, which is the equivalent of an exchange, needs an issuer pipeline. You need product by which to list on your platform. The second part of our issuer pipeline, there we go, is Guangzhou-related entities. Prometheum's lead investor and technical co-founder is a company called Guangzhou Shanghai Blockchain, which is probably the largest and most capable blockchain company in the world. And they've invested in a multitude of companies that are part of their network that they anticipate listing on the Prometheum platform to do an issuance and then to list on our secondary market. And what's wonderful there is that the quality of their projects is immaculate. It's a wonderful product pipeline.
That's right. Product pipeline for China. Then Prometheum responds to the letter, and they basically say former relationships with Wang Zhang and its affiliates have been reviewed by the SEC. So you've got a compromised SEC who's reviewed it and they've given it the free pass, which closed its investigation. I don't know about this CFIUS, but hell, looks like half our government or 3/4 of it has been compromised by China. So why would CFIUS be any different? Then you got this Truth Labs guy who came out. He's got the receipts, folks. You need to go look through this entire thread. And in this thread, you know what else he says? Down here. In January, I told the world how it was Wang Zhang that was behind Ethereum, period. Remember, look, folks, what was Ripple saying back a few years ago? They were saying that China controlled Bitcoin and Ethereum. We can't know who Satoshi is, even though we know that Satoshi Nakamoto, the four Satoshis, Homeland Security met with them, but they pretend like they don't know who it is. We can't know who the Ethereum disguised whales are. Nobody seems to be interested in finding out. I have a hunch that the disguised whales were China, or the disguised whale was China. We can't find out any of this stuff, folks. Then you've got this. We can't ignore this, folks. Hey, I call them like I see them on both sides of the aisle. So nobody can say, oh, you're a Republican or whatever. It's not about that. For me, I called out Jay Clayton, who was from Trump, and I called these guys out. They have the receipts. You don't have to take my word for it. Go to this tweet. They have the bank records showing that the President of the United States family has had money funneled to it by China. So let me ask you a question. If you're the President of the United States and China has paid you, don't you think China is holding that over your head? Hey, you don't do what we say, we'll just tell the world what you did. We'll tell the world. We've got video, we've got audio recordings. These guys are notorious for wiring and videoing rooms anytime any official goes over to China. And then there's this. This is Brad Garlinghouse in 2020. And first I'm going to read you this. Let's recap. What do Bill Hinman, Jay Clayton, Gary Gensler, and Joe Biden all have in common? Well, besides China, a lot of them also have, a guy that used to own an island. They seem to have that in common too, most of them. But anyway, they all have a China problem. This is Brad Garlinghouse, 1/21/2020 on Fox Business, a few months before Jay Clayton drops the lawsuit as he walks out the door. My question is, why is Liz Clayman teeing up Charles Gasparino to try to take a piss on the Ripple decision instead of highlighting this? She could be showing what she interviewed Brad Garlinghouse about the China problem back in 2020 before the lawsuit was dropped. Remember, this video is before the lawsuit's dropped. Jay Clayton later drops the lawsuit.
People's Bank of China is close to releasing a national digital currency and a government-run network to go with it. According to the People's Bank of China, the so-called ChinaCoin will enable cross-border money movement, will increase investment flows to the country, and maybe even bypass trade sanctions. So where is the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government in the national crypto race? And what would it mean for the private cryptocurrency tokens here in the U.S.? Earlier today, I sat down with Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of digital payment network Ripple, whose XRP cryptocurrency is one of the most widely traded. Listen to what he said. How do you view the news that China has completed this prototype of a ChinaCoin that's yuan-backed and is about to unleash some type of digital network?
I think it should be a call to action for the U.S. So far, the U.S., I think, has been very actively looking at this, but we haven't yet seen leadership. If you go back to the internet 25 years ago, the fact that the U.S. was a leader in the foundational technologies that make the internet what it is today has been fabulous for the United States from a GDP point of view, from a geopolitical point of view. These are new, profound technologies, and the U.S. needs to be a leader in this space, and we need to pay attention to the fact that China has really leaned in here.
Are we? Because if we look at our Federal Reserve Chief, Jay Powell, he has expressed skepticism about cryptocurrency. President Trump has expressed he doesn't much like the situation either, because perhaps they don't quite understand it or they feel that it's the Wild West. China and the People's Bank of China have harnessed this and are ready to put it out there. There is concern that this could put the U.S. dollar into jeopardy.
What I would say to President Trump and Chairman Powell is we shouldn't paint all crypto with one broad brush. What I think you see in their comments is the kind of very general view that can crypto be used for illicit purposes? Can crypto be used for anonymous transactions? The U.S. should not take a blind eye and not recognize that not all of this is about those illicit use cases. And then the reason why I think China is leaning in is because they see that future.
But China says that they could use their ChinaCoin to surpass or do a workaround the sanctions that the U.S. has put into place on certain countries.
And so I think you're right that part of the opportunity they see is how can they dislodge the U.S. dollar. What Ripple is trying to do isn't at all to compete with the U.S. dollar, to compete with really any fiat currency. We're simply trying to use our technologies and use the open source technology of the XRP ledger to reduce the frictions in these payments.
Well, to that end, when you're talking about the government, French Hill, a Republican from Arkansas, and Bill Foster, the Democrat from Illinois, both wrote a letter to the Federal Reserve saying, you guys better get on the ball here. This is important because we could lose our status eventually, or at least put the greenback in jeopardy.
Right. And I think you are seeing some members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, and luckily this is a very bipartisan issue, that they see that the U.S. has been a leader in many technical revolutions. There's no reason why we shouldn't be here. And there are big issues at stake, including, as we're describing here, kind of, where does the U.S. dollar sit in the hierarchy of global currencies?
Well, are we behind if the People's Bank of China, according to CoinDesk, has something like 50 patents filed for this kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know yet if we're behind. I think there's a risk of falling behind. I mean, the good news is, I say in a self-congratulatory way, we do have some of the leading companies here based in the United States doing things around crypto. Ripple has been a leader in this space, and I think there's an opportunity to get behind some of these efforts domestically and really support them.
So think about this for a minute. You got a president who, they have the bank accounts, they have the receipts, and this guy's the one that's running Operation Choke Point 2.0 to try to kill the crypto industry in the United States, and at the same time tried to tie up at his look. He's the one that controls Gary. They tried to tie up Ripple in a lawsuit and continue to for 3 years, folks. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Tell your friends and family that it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. This country has a China problem. We have a bribed and blackmailed politician problem. Not just the president either. It's pretty obvious at this point. Thanks for listening.